Now, the most important thing here is understanding a thing called the numeric society. The numeric society was a term christened about 3 years ago, which said the problems we live in a world driven by numbers and accountants. And how do you reduce creativity to a bunch of numbers? In our ad industry, the worst thing that ever happened is the way the digital's become number. It's just a load of number, and most of it's rubbish, to be honest. It's just numbers for the sake of numbers. We need to get back to real values. What you're also seeing is a massive change, and it's very important to look at economy alongside. I mean, as I've said before, creative economy is our second biggest economy. But if you look at economics, what you learn from economics, which is very interesting, is that economics is no longer just about money and numbers. Companies now actually have to do narrative reporting, so they have to talk about more than just the numbers. And people are looking at more than just the numbers. I mean, for example, in the city, people are interested in investment. They're not interested in just on how much you make, but how you make it. So ethics are very big. So these things are actually very important in the balance. And what we're saying is that people get to a point where numbers aren't enough, and they're realising what they need is things beyond numbers. Now, one thing that's very interesting in research we're doing now in the industry into the way people engage with advertising is that people emotionally engage. You can't put a number on that. You can't just look at it from a rational core point of view. You have to look at it from emotional. And the most powerful advertising is that which actually isn't logical. It doesn't have numbers. You're seeing it with Meerkat as well, with Compare the Market. Here's a market which is very number driven. It's all about the cheapest insurance. Go compare the market. They launch an ad featuring a meerkat, which couldn't be more balmy. It has actually very sort of light messaging, yet it's one of the most successful ads. It's revolutionised the market. Even people in the city are looking around. I was at a do the other night saying, I think we need to be a bit more creative, but we're not sure why. We just know that it works better. Numbers are for people who are scared. They make you feel safe, but after a while you realise they're not delivering anything. I would say that the consumer now is starting to shape the brands in a way that they didn't before. Not necessarily more so than we are as agencies. We after all understand the complex issues of psychology. We understand consumer behaviour. We understand how these things work from years and years of trials. Consumers have no idea. They just randomly do things. So I think you can't replace the experts with the amateur, but what is happening is the consumers, yes, are having an effect. And we should remember that branding actually is not about a pretty logo. It's actually about what you say about something. So, if we have a first experience with something we've never met, then what I tell you will inform you more about that brand image than any advertising will. Also, journalists for years have been key influencers in brands. If you look at the style industry and the fashion industry, it relies entirely on what journalists say. Look at Clarkson. His influence upon the car market is immense. What he says about a car can kill it overnight. So I think there's always been people out there doing that, but I think, yes, consumers do have a stronger influence on branding nowadays than ever before. Is that it's still based on a Victorian mentality. What we're doing is we still have like 11 plus. The 11 plus was originally generated to differentiate you from whether you're going to be working on the shop floor or whether you're going to work in the office. We still have that. We still have a Victorian-based mentality. We are not teaching people the best way they need to learn. So we need to teach people in a way that suits them. What we do is we firstly try and create a massive mediocrity. We're trying to average everybody out and say, okay, let's make everyone equal. And this obsession with equality is ridiculous. What we need to do is recognise that you might be very good at something, so let's give you a lot of support. But you might be rubbish at something else, so let's not bother. As a young creative coming into the business, you have to accept the fact that employment is going to be less in the future than it has been. You've seen other industries like journalism, photography, almost everybody's self-employed. The ad industry is kind of going that way in some areas, and the creative agencies will always employ people. That's the only way they can be super creative. But the mediocre agencies will freelance out. And that's what you're seeing already. And nobody teaches you about self-employment, about tax forms, about how to run your own little business, how to team up with other people. These skills aren't even taught. What we do is we try and create a sausage factory mentality in colleges so that we keep the government happy. It's like, can I get 20 students through the course, 2-1 upwards, then I get my money. And that's how the colleges have been driven. And the tutors will tell you that they're under pressure just to deliver. And the thing they're not being able to deliver is good, creative, talented people, just to make sure they hit the numbers and come out.